Hello, friends. Today I want to introduce my new book, Sri Lanka, a travelogue with family history. I went to Sri Lanka for the first time ever in early September this year, and I've produced a 400-page book, just like that. But of course, it's not that easy. What I've got here is I've got an introductory chapter, which is I've written with help. And then the rest of it is actually photographs, which I took in Sri Lanka. So with commentary on some of them, not all of them. So I just want to talk a little bit about the book and how it came to be, because I've never done a travelogue before. Oh, and by the way, my T-shirt is a Sri Lankan elephant bought in Sri Lanka. I've never done a travelogue before. And what happened was I was putting my photos on YouTube as I went round Sri Lanka. And I had a lot of photos. I think I've uploaded 1,400 photos to YouTube. And people were saying, "Oh, these are great. You know, you should do something with them. It's like a travelogue." I said, "Oh, is it? Oh, really?" I hadn't even thought about it, a travelogue. Before I went, I wasn't even considering a travelogue. It was important to me to go to Sri Lanka for family reasons, really. That's why it's, as again, I'll give you the title again. It's a travelogue with family history, because my paternal grandfather was a tea planter for most of his working life in Ceylon, as it then was. And I wanted to see where he had lived and worked with his wife. So that was Charles Ruxton and Evelyn, his wife, from Aberdeenshire. And so I managed to go there. I also was able to go to the estate where my dad was born, which was a different one, a place called Waldemar in Nuwara Elia. And Nuwara Elia is very well known worldwide for the tea. Anyway, there we are. So I think what I would like to do is just to give you some idea of what's in this book. I mean, I've already shown you that it has photos in it, lots of photos. I think 800 photos made the cut from 1,400 photos. So, I'll just briefly share the screen, showing you contents in more detail. So, okay, here's the title page. We're scrolling down here. And that's me. I've decided to give my full name because Charles Ruxton was my grandfather, and I was named partly after him, obviously, with the second name of Charles. Yeah, published this year. It's been published in Kindle book, ebook version, paperback and hardcover through Amazon KDP, which is my preferred publishing platform. I prefer to self-publish, generally speaking, rather than deal with a traditional publisher, because you always have to come to compromises. With this way of publishing, you've got technical issues connected with uploading and so on, but you don't quite have the same. I find you don't quite have the same problems. Excuse me. Okay, so there's my email address, and the book is dedicated to Eleanor Thompson, Eleanor Ann Thompson. We don't know what she looks like yet. The blue color of the back cover, there it is there, if you can see in the small video. It represents the topaz, which I purchased. Here's the Sri Lankan flag with an explanation directly from Wikipedia. Here's a map of Sri Lanka, showing my itinerary by the towns which are circled. So in fact, here it is. I was in Colombo for a night, Kandy for 2 nights, Ella for 3 nights, Gaul for 2 nights, and Colombo for 1 night. So going basically in a clockwise direction, Colombo, let's see if we can show it to you here. Colombo, Kandy, Ella, Gaul, and then back to Colombo. Okay. And then the contents, well, I was very fortunate and very honored that Mr. Rodney Pereira, who is presently the Sri Lankan ambassador to Japan, was willing to write a brief foreword. And then we've got my introduction, which is divided broadly into the 3 parts that you see there: family history in Sri Lanka, my clockwise journey, and practical matters, and a couple of pages about reflections and notes. Then the main part of the book begins with Arabic numerals. So we've got the flights from Japan, where I live, each day, 10 days total, and the flights back to Japan, and then the souvenirs. So I hope that's fairly simple. And here's the foreword, which is is very fulsome in its praise. So I'm a little bit embarrassed to show it here, but if you want to read it, you'll find it on Amazon as well. But it appears that the ambassador liked the book, which I'm glad about, obviously. And here's my introduction, starting with a reference to Shakespeare. Well, I am British after all. And the Bible, we've got the Bible here as well, early on. Charles Ruxton, my grandfather, he had a father, his father was Charles Ruxton as well. So basically from Aberdeenshire. And Ernest Sato, some of you may know that I've spent most of my researching life studying Ernest Sato, Sir Ernest Sato. So he did rather inspire me to do this, as I explain here. This is my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. And this is my paternal grandmother with her mother. It's a rather fine portrait, I think. I rather like that. And then this is in the middle here. We've got my grandmother, Evelyn, and Charles getting married in Colombo in 1924, 25th of October, which it's almost, well, today is what? Is today the 23rd, I think? So, of October. So I think it's almost 99 years to the day since this photo was taken. A little family group there, and all the people are explained who they are. Here's the entry in the registry at the church, the Scots Church in Colombo, which was kindly sent to me after I visited there on September the 2nd. A bit about Charles Ruxton's war record. They're Charles and Evelyn's children, which includes my father, Alan Day Ruxton. I'm the eldest son of the eldest son. And then there's Andrew William Ruxton, who also came out to Ceylon, as it then was, who's brother of Charles. And so it goes. And he there we are. There's a family group. Here's my grandfather sitting down on the ground, and my father is a young child of what? Would that be 5 years old? I'm not quite sure. And various family members in Sri Lanka, or Ceylon, I should say, as it was. And then a bit about the Allen family, because the Ruxtons and the Allens, basically half brothers. So Eleanor Ann Thompson married twice, to William Allen and then Charles Ruxton. And she had 7 children, 4 Allens and 3 Ruxtons. And here they're all detailed here, thanks to Shona McCallan from Aberdeen. And here there are 3 Ruxtons. Charles Ruxton is my grandfather there in the middle. And this is Eleanor Ann Thompson's gravestone in Aberdeen. And there's some very interesting family background here, which I won't tell you the whole thing, because if you really want to read it, you can either read it for free as the introduction on Amazon, or you can, if you want, by all means, buy the Kindle or buy the paperback, which I've just shown you, or the hardcover. Although the hardcover takes a while to produce, it seems, about 6 weeks, and it's only available, I think, from Amazon.com and some European websites, European Amazon websites. Yeah, the spelling of my father's name, and then this is the journey I took, and so I talk about it in detail, with a quotation from Sato's diary, which is relevant. And there we are, Dambulla and Sigiriya, they're famous places near Kandy, in the center of the island. And I took the famous train from Kandy to Ella, and then Ella, and I met Faisal, who was my driver for 5 days. He was great. And here's the Hopton Group bungalow, which my grandfather, he was the estate manager and working out of this bungalow, or living in the bungalow, for how long? I think from 1928 to 1951, when he and Evelyn retired to Scotland. Nuar Elia, which includes the Valdemar Estate, Yala National Park, my first ever safari, Gaul, which I loved. It was so interesting, with all the museums and churches and a mixture of culture. And then, yeah, a very busy day on the way back to Colombo. And that was more or less it. And then I talk about the cars I used, where I used 3 cars, and the air tickets purchase, which was not quite perfect, and some concluding remarks, including a quotation from my father, who spoke to my brother in 2006, and that was recorded. And some immediate reflections after I just got back to Japan, literally in the airport, Haneda domestic terminal. Some notes about how I took the photos with an iPhone 11 and so on. A little bit of recommended reading. And then it starts off into the travelogue. And here I am standing at the full length, in front of the full length mirror at JR Tabata station in Kyushu, which is the nearest one to my home. And off we go. So I won't show you the rest of it, but it's too long for one thing. But I think that's a sort of taster, and I hope that's of interest to you. I will stop the share now. Okay. And yeah, I would encourage Japanese people to visit Sri Lanka. They tend to go to Thailand or to Singapore or Malaysia, which is just one stop from Japan. But with Sri Lanka, you probably need to change planes. Well, on the way out, I changed at Bangkok, and on the way back at Singapore. But it really is worth that little extra flight, which is not very long. It's about 4 hours from Bangkok, or I think 4 or 5 from Singapore. And it really is. It's a lovely island, lovely people. We all know, or most of us know, that they've had a tough time with the economy recently, and that they do need tourism. But there's so much which is worth seeing, and I never felt in danger at any time from anything really, not even from insects. And I did take insect repellent with me, being a bit scared of things like dengue fever. Anyway, nothing of that nature happened. The worst thing that happened to me was I got my finger stuck in the toilet door in the train from Kandy to Ella. So that's still recovering. Here it is. There, it's just recovering, but it doesn't hurt. It hurt at the time, and I had to be careful not to get it infected. But no, really, I mean, that's a pretty small price to pay, I think, for such a wonderful experience. And so I think I will leave it there. And thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again soon. Bye now.